In the darkest corners of ancient mythology lurks a name that once made even the gods tremble. Typhon. Not just a monster, but the monster of all monsters. I've spent decades researching forgotten texts and crumbling scrolls, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, nothing in any pantheon compares to the sheer terror Typhon inspired. The ancient Greeks didn't just fear this entity, they spoke of it in hushed whispers, afraid that merely uttering its name might somehow summon its attention. What makes Typhon truly fascinating isn't just the fear it inspired, but how universal that fear was. From the Mediterranean to Mesopotamia, cultures separated by vast distances all seem to have their own version of this primordial horror. The Egyptians called it Apophis, the Hittites knew it as Iluyanka, but the descriptions remained eerily consistent. A force of pure chaos that threatened not just humanity, but the very cosmic order itself. This wasn't just another monster. This was the embodiment of nature's destructive potential unleashed. The birth of Typhon is perhaps one of mythology's most chilling tales. After Zeus overthrew the Titans and established the Olympian order, Gaia, Mother Earth herself, grew resentful of the new cosmic hierarchy. In her fury, she mated with Tartarus, the primordial abyss beneath the underworld. Their union produced Typhon, born specifically to challenge Zeus's authority. Imagine a creature conceived from the Earth's rage and the darkest void, a being literally born to destroy heaven itself. What's particularly intriguing is how this origin story reflects ancient fears about natural disasters. Typhon wasn't just a mythological construct. He represented the terrifying unpredictability of volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and violent storms. The ancients observed how the earth itself could suddenly turn against them, how the ground could split open and spew fire, how winds could tear apart their homes. In Typhon, they created a narrative to explain these phenomena, a monster born from the earth's wrath, whose very existence threatened the stability of their world. The confrontation between Typhon and Zeus stands as perhaps the most cataclysmic battle in all of mythology. Picture this, the sky darkening as Typhon rises to his full height, towering above mountains, his 100 dragon heads roaring in unison. Zeus, king of the gods, faces him alone after the other Olympians flee in terror. The earth shakes, lightning tears across the sky, and mountains crumble as these two forces collide. What makes this battle so compelling isn't just its scale, but what it represents. Order versus chaos, civilization versus destruction, the new gods versus primal forces. The battle wasn't a quick affair. It raged across the ancient world. At one point, Typhon actually gained the upper hand, severing Zeus's tendons and leaving him temporarily helpless. This moment of vulnerability for the king of gods is rarely seen in mythology and shows just how formidable Typhon truly was. Eventually, Zeus recovered and hurled hundreds of thunderbolts at the monster, finally driving him beneath Mount Etna in Sicily. But notice how the myth doesn't claim Typhon was destroyed, merely imprisoned. The ancients understood that chaos is never truly defeated, only temporarily contained. After his defeat, Typhon's legacy continued through his monstrous children. With his mate Echidna, herself half woman and half serpent, Typhon fathered a lineage of creatures that would plague heroes throughout Greek mythology. The multi-headed Hydra, the fire-breathing Chimera, the riddle-speaking Sphinx, the hundred-eyed Ladon, and even Cerberus, guardian of the underworld. All trace their lineage back to Typhon. Each inherited some aspect of their father's chaos. Each represented a different challenge to heroic order. What makes this family tree so intriguing is how it spreads Typhon's influence throughout the mythic landscape. Even confined beneath a mountain, his chaos continues to manifest through his children. These monsters don't just randomly appear in myths, they guard boundaries, crossroads, and liminal spaces. They test heroes not just physically but intellectually and morally. In a sense, they continue their father's work, challenging the established order, forcing heroes to prove themselves worthy of the civilized world they protect. Through them, Typhon remains an active force in the world, his influence felt in every dark cave and uncharted wilderness. According to ancient belief, Typhon wasn't destroyed, but imprisoned beneath Mount Etna in Sicily, where his rage manifests as volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. The Greeks weren't alone in this belief. Cultures around the Mediterranean basin associated their local volcanoes with imprisoned monsters. Mount Vesuvius, the mountains of Anatolia, even distant peaks in the Caucasus, all were said to house similar entities. This widespread belief reveals something profound about how ancient peoples understood natural disasters. What's particularly chilling is how these myths persist in modern times. Local legends still speak of strange sounds coming from these mountains, roars and whispers that can't be explained by natural phenomena. Geologists have documented unusual seismic patterns beneath several of these ancient sites, patterns that don't match typical volcanic activity. Is this merely coincidence, or did the ancients know something we've forgotten? The most unsettling accounts come from spelunkers who've ventured deep into cave systems near these mountains, reporting vast chambers that shouldn't exist according to geological surveys, and peculiar markings that resemble no known ancient script. These explorers often emerge with inexplicable gaps in their memory, unable to recall exactly what they saw in the deepest reaches. Will Typhon rise again? Ancient texts contain disturbing prophecies about Typhon's eventual return. The Sibylline oracles, mysterious prophetic books from antiquity, speak of a time when the earth shall groan and the chains of the Great One shall break. Similar predictions appear in obscure Etruscan divinations and fragments of lost Babylonian tablets. These prophecies share common elements: a time of unusual celestial alignments, followed by unprecedented natural disasters, culminating in the Ancient One's awakening. What's troubling is how closely some of these predicted signs match current global events. The most detailed prophecy comes from a recently translated fragment found near Mount Vesuvius, which describes a time when the heavens speak with fire and the waters rise beyond their bounds. It continues to describe 7 signs that herald the unchaining, including unusual animal behavior, unexplained sounds emanating from deep within the earth, and a period where dreams become shared among strangers. Reports of people across the world experiencing identical nightmares have increased dramatically in recent years, often featuring a vast, indistinct presence rising from beneath the earth. Sleep researchers dismiss these as coincidence or cultural contamination, but those familiar with the ancient texts recognize the pattern with growing concern.